Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a great week. I'm going to reintroduce myself. I'm Colin McShane, Senior Project Manager with E.D. Reed. E.D. Reed is a general contractor. We've been around for nearly 50 years, but have been in the Northern Virginia market for the last 40. But only been working in the data center sector for the last 10 years. I've been with E.D. Reed for about 9 years, with the last 7 being in the mission critical field. It's an honor and privilege to be up here with some of our industry experts. The last panel talked about mitigating risks throughout the project lifestyle. We're going to drill a little bit deeper and talk about tools and technologies and mitigating risks for the actual construction process. And I think we're going to see a lot of the same answers. That was a great discussion, so I'm looking forward to this one. With that, I'm going to throw it over to the panel to introduce themselves.
Howdy, I'm Tyler Stevenson, Senior Vice President, Project Executive with Quinn Construction out of the Texas office. For those of you who don't know us, we are a national mission critical contractor. We've been in business for 25 years. And then on top of that, we are very, very proud of being at the forefront of technology and its implementation of mission critical.
Good morning, Andy Kirby with Microsoft, run the eastern side of the United States and Latin America for our data center construction. Just joined Microsoft not too long ago, came over from the general contractor side for about 26 years, so excited to maybe make some changes with Microsoft.
Hey guys, Jake Brummett. I'm a kind of an executive consultant now. I've been all over the industry for 20, 25 years now. Kind of went out on my own doing some global advisory to a lot of the developers and hyperscalers.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Williams, Director of EDC Coordination, Management at VEC. We are a third-party EDC constructability partner. We work with our clients for the full life cycle of the project, from digital delivery through on-site validation. I spent 15 years as a general contractor, working for McCarthy Building Companies as one of them. So bringing constructability into the technology space. Appreciate you guys all being here, making it to day 3, and looking forward to the conversation.
Hi all, I'm Reed Sonescu. I lead product at Doxel. Doxel is automated progress tracking. We use computer vision to measure quantities installed on a weekly basis on your construction sites, and then tie that back to schedule and budget to help general contractors and owners stay on time and stay on budget.
Hey, good morning, Adam Black, SVP of Design and Construction at TA Digital Group, based here in Virginia.
Awesome, thanks guys. So the topic is implementing the best tools and technology for project delivery. We're going to start with how has on-site construction changed in the last 2 to 3 years, given increased data center demand, and where are the main bottlenecks and challenges? Tyler, I'm going to throw it to you as the guy who's going to build it.
Yeah, no problem. So it's changed a lot in the past 2-3 years alone. Quite honestly, at this point, it changes every 6 months, it feels like. One of the big challenges that we're seeing is there's all sorts of different VDC opportunities out there and how to implement AI inside of it. But all the customers, clients, and us as a general contractor are seeing what is out there to be used. But we're getting mixed messages as to what the product is and what's the best route to do and when to bring that in, whether it's in the beginning to get the BIM model updated, and then when challenges hit, when the design changes, let's say from air to liquid, how do you implement the model and transition? So that's one of our big challenges. Now I really want the VDC guys to chime in here as the model changes. How do you bring that in and be as the forefront to get it updated so we can build it?
Yeah, I think it is a big question in the industry right now, and having some good conversations at the booth throughout the week, even last night. Understanding like what is dynamic and what is static within the design. Personally, experience that I have with AIs, we're not seeing that much implementation on the coordination side, but really having an understanding and a really solid design team and how we can plan for what potential changes our end user might be on that project, it has been a challenge. There have been, in my experience on some of the projects, where we have base scope identified, but not necessarily the end user. We've already started coordination. I think that's where you're kind of going with it, Tyler. Is how do we plan for the unknown? And I think that is a major question right now. And And having the foundation of our design and architects and engineers of record and coming up with very unique and innovative ways on how we can plan for it. You know, we're talking about Rocks Tech last night, which is a very cool concept where you can embed it in walls and you have the flexibility to figure out the sizing of conduits and pipes entering the building later if you're doing liquid cooled or if you're doing air cooled. And you know, coming to these conferences and learning about this new technology is really powerful and how we can all integrate as partners. Like we are the future of data centers, you know, in this country and maybe globally. You know, sitting together and really identifying, you know, and we're putting our heads together on, you know, how can we plan for the unknown. I think this is something we're all still trying to achieve.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is changing in terms of challenges is speed, right? And Joe Walsh was mentioning this in an earlier panel. It's all about speed. And what's driving that speed is that the data center construction is now like a core driver of the business of these massive technology companies and hyperscalers. And the technology is changing so fast that you need to build fast, because if you don't, by the time you build, your technology is going to be out of date. And so we're seeing, you know, a lot of what's happening is that the design's not complete, like y'all are saying, by the time they start construction. And so the technology that you're using on your site needs to adapt to that. It needs to respond very, very quickly when that design gets filled out. And you know, for example, like you need tight integration so that when you're getting BIM updates, you're getting schedule updates, you're turning around those updates very quickly and keeping up with the pace of conversation, keeping up with the designs, keeping up with the construction. And I think that's really, you know, a critical aspect when you're adopting technology. Can it work in an environment where the design is consistently changing?
You know, something I see around that is kind of, I use a methodology called start with the end in mind. And one of the things that's disrupting what we do and the way we build right now is where's the compute going, right? I went through 160 plus design changes in 3 months on a 400 megawatt project. And what drove that was what NVIDIA was doing. When we started out at 64 kW a cabinet, and 3 weeks later we're solving for 135. 3 weeks after that we're at 250. So everything changes down the line, but the scope and the goal of the schedule doesn't change at all, and it's tough.
Yeah, so we're going to drill down on BDC a little bit more, but maybe hear from the owner developers, you know, what some of the other challenges that we've heard this week, you know, labor, power, supply chain. What else are you guys seeing?
Well, I just want to address the last one. We don't make changes, so we just, that's how and what we do. We use Copilot to fix it. So we just do that. But no, adding on to it, I think that, like we talked about the last panel, and so the industry is labor shortages. That's a huge thing that we're seeing. Obviously, we talked to general contractors and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and trade partners. Hey, what is your capacity? What's it look like? And that's just a piece of it as far as where the workforce is. They mentioned as far as prefabrication, we're really looking hard at that, whether we do skids or whole building modularization, which is we're still trying to figure out. But even past that is like, what does it look like for the supply chain, which they talked about, which has been constrained. And it's hurry up and get as much as you can out there as fast as you can. And you have to spread it's hard for us to even do a specific design around a specific manufacturer because they can't keep up. And it's not their fault, it's just there's just so much demand out there. So we have to look at different manufacturers to be able to support our different builds. And so I think we have to just look at and work with partners within the industry to help us through those issues.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to call out is the changing form factor of these buildings and of the sites. You know, it's in everybody's best interest to try to maximize the yield on a site. And as we start to look for infill opportunities in mature markets like Virginia, we've got much smaller sites and much less capability to store materials and stage materials and have laydown. So I think that speaks to the supply chain challenges as we're trying to manage a just-in-time delivery on these jobs and streamline the workflow. We look at modular construction, prefabrication offsite. Where are we going to store that stuff? Where is it going to be stored safely? That's one thing that I'm seeing change drastically in the industry, which means that having intelligence, business intelligence, to be able to control your schedule and understand where you're at, where the problems are going to sneak up on you around the corner is really important to make all those things tie together and deliver a successful project.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, what we've seen is there's also more competition coming to this Northern Virginia market and just entering the data center sector, and it's all speed to market, standardization, but you gotta be flexible. You know, as a GC, we're always trying to, you know, help out and prevent challenges and mitigate that risk. But it's difficult. The last panel hit it perfectly. I mean, they talked about, you know, the linear flow of the project. Now we're going to a more collaborative design build. The sooner, you know, you can get your partners involved, the better it's going to be. Get them in early, look at the model, collaborate with your trade partners. So with that being said, Kevin, I think we go back to you here. How are digital twin technologies and other tech being utilized in current data center construction projects to enhance real-time decision-making and foresee potential construction changes?
Yeah, digital twin, you know, really is a spitting image of, you know, the foundation of our design engineering partners. And I think, you know, really having an understanding and an open book of transparency on where we're at so we can make real-time decisions has been very powerful. I mean, this goes back to the first question we were talking about as well, is planning for the unknown. You need to have that digital twin available. And we also were talking a little bit about qualifying the right partner that has the experience to be able to keep up with the demand and speed of these projects. You know, these projects, you know, up over $1 billion, couple hundred thousand, or a couple million square foot projects, you know, the amount of data consumed on the construction or the coordination side of things is very robust. Like, these projects is not where we come to learn how to use the technology. That time is coming up. You need to execute, pick the right partner to pull along with you, to be a supportive entity, a part of that design process. And I think, you know, with the digital twin process, it starts early in design. It starts in DDs. It doesn't start after IFC. That's where we got RFIs we're generating, we have cost impacts, time impacts. We're in a race to deliver quality shop drawings and get material procured in time to meet the construction schedule, right? Speed to market. And without quality digital twins early in design to help us foresee those challenges, and I think we're losing on some key opportunities to be pulled that far left in design.
You know, one big change that we're starting to see is we're getting brought in maybe a year in advance when data centers are being built. We'll bring in the partners of the MEP, we'll bring in BIM, and we'll start procuring equipment as well. But bringing people in early on, sometimes up to a year or more, depending on the size of the building and the magnitude. You might talk to the local jurisdiction as well to see what that's going to entail, because we're starting to see the data centers move into more rural locations. So you have another twist there, and that's where prefab really comes into place, because you're not going to be fabricating close to the site. So getting BIM involved, like they were saying, towards the DD side of things, less towards the IMC, has been an incredible way to save some time and money.
Yeah, you know, I think like planning is really important. Like, me personally, I'm kind of agnostic when we get involved in a project. Like, we can get involved right before MEP, we can get involved way early and help the team plan. I mean, I think it's also important to realize that like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? And, you know, I think you were alluding this too, like, this day where we can just follow a schedule and we create this Primavera Gantt chart and it's got thousands of lines of bars and you expect everybody to just follow those bars. Those days are long gone. And what I see with digital twins is that what we're doing is we're really creating a live digital twin during construction at Doxel. And what that visualization allows is it allows everyone to understand green, yellow, red, what's on time, what needs to be installed, what's trending towards being behind. Like you said, like Adam said, to get ahead of schedule slips early. And when you have that, you have these traffic lights on your construction site. And it's like, for years, we've been thousands of drivers on a construction site, crashing into each other, screaming at each other, getting in each other's way, all this trade stacking. Now, our teams, they have traffic lights. They're creating trade flow. Everybody understands what everybody else is working on, and they understand way early, okay, this is trending behind, we need to focus here and get back on time.
I'll also say, we're talking a lot about construction. I see Jeff up here, one of our ops leaders. I'll use a line that these guys from my team have heard many times before is, we're all engaged in the business of building the house that operations has to live in for the next however many years, and that our tenants, Microsoft and whoever else, have to live in for so many years. And if we don't have these digital twins and we don't have the controls during construction to manage 160 some odd changes in 3 months, then we're not leaving them with a house that's built on a firm foundation. And they don't know where things are when you cover things up in the wall. They don't understand the intricacies of the process of construction, how it went together. You get your digital twin, but you also get the history of how you got to that endpoint, which is very valuable information to ensure a reliable facility that has uptime and where the operations team can actually respond to issues. They know how it went together, they know where things are, they can refer to that data, and it makes them more effective at their jobs as well. And that's one of the biggest benefits I see in technology such as this.
You know, from the GC side, what's exciting about that is, you know, we always sit there saying you're behind schedule, behind schedule, behind schedule. Now there's tangible evidence. You have a scan model that refers back to the schedule and can legitimately show you, hey, you were behind schedule by a significant amount, we need more manpower. So it helps us a lot, it helps us deliver to the customers and explain what's going on with the project, what the health of the project is, and like Adam was saying, it's a continuous as-built. So they're no longer gonna get these PDFs at the end of the day that's an as-built. We just hope that it's correct. Now it's a scanned model that's continually being updated, and you get an as-built that you can connect back to.
Yeah, and say from the owner's perspective, you know, we walk a job site and say, it just doesn't feel like there's enough people here. It doesn't feel like the right flow. And so being able to use some of these tools through the general contractor, we're saying like, does it verify what we're saying, or just maybe you're working more efficiently than we've seen? And so it really helps us to verify, you know, work in place, productivity, and are we actually going to meet our dates? Because I thought coming to Microsoft that, you know, like we are the client, but guess what? We have clients too. And so we have to meet dates. So it's interesting to see that where you're trying to meet dates for our clients. And so it just keeps going down further and further. So more predictability for us is important.
And I think, just to chime in, because I totally agree, Andy, what I'm also seeing is that what you're also getting is an as-built schedule. So I think we all know that like contractors don't end up building schedules exactly according to how they plan at the beginning. And when you have an as-built schedule, what actually is getting started, what actually is getting finished on actual days, and you look at across your projects, you start to get benchmark data. And that allows you to start to commit with confidence to faster schedules on your next project. Because you know that historically, oh, we've been benchmarked and we're installing, you know, chilled water pipe at X linear feet per week. And we can then use that to commit to a faster schedule with no more risk because we have the historic data to back it up, as well as like understand the risks going forward in your future projects. So that's how you can also use that data to deliver faster across your entire portfolio.
Yeah, we were seeing on several projects, we're seeing a efficiency and handoff between where the digital twin can prompt your commissioning teams and your operations team, where they understand what's coming down the pipe. They can start building scripts a lot faster, and you can save time on schedule by bringing your commissioning team in earlier, seeing what's going on with the twin, and then having that handshake with your operations team. That helps a lot.
We could go for hours on this.
Yeah, I have one last thing to add there. I mean, we have people building projects, and with digital twin, we can forecast the dynamics of the project any day, right? 4D scheduling, Fuser, there's a handful of different technologies out there, but we can actually forecast where people are going to be at the site. Where are they going to park? Do they have to get in a shuttle? What security gate are they going to go through? How do they get from point A to point B as efficiently as possible so we're not losing productivity? We talk a lot about, you know, material procurement and delays here and there, but if we can't get our people safely from car to job site to their workstation effectively every day, there's thousands of people on these job sites every day, right? And our goal is to send them home safely every single day to their families. And to be able to send them every day, here's how the dynamics of the job site are changing. So as they're showing up at the job site, they know exactly where to go. I mean, you say a half hour of each person where they show up to the wrong gate, we can talk $50,000 to $100,000 of loss in productivity every single day for these large 100-acre type of properties.
Yeah, and I think as we start to get some of that historical data, you guys kind of touched on it, you use some predictive analytics, and then all of a sudden we're making real real-time decisions very quickly with the assistance of AI, and you're kind of taking that out of your superintendent's still making the decision, but he's just making a more informed decision and making that decision a little bit quicker. And we kind of broached the subject, but for VDC, how are you guys seeing it leveraged to improve collaboration? So we talked about commissioning, we talked about pre-con. Does anybody want to expand upon that? How you're seeing it improve the communication and the workflow between the stakeholders and the construction process?
That's another wide open answer. I'll start it off here. Kevin was talking about get the live model for logistics. So we have a model, we'll get a plan or a live view of the overall site pretty much every other day or every week. And that gives our entire team the ability to modify what's actually happening. It's not going to be blocks on the PDF and moving as much as we love moving, but it's actual reality, where things are, where you can go, what can happen when and where. So that's been one of the biggest positives of bringing it in to actual construction, and that creates a more collaborative environment. We can sit down with the owners of the world and let you know, hey, Microsoft, hey Adam, we've got some restraints right here. We're going to focus on this one over here. The model shows it with the schedule. We can tie that back to logistics. So we've got VDC being applied to every aspect of construction. It's not just in the beginning and then walking away for prefab. It's from day one all the way over to IST. We're having this touch every part of it these days.
As an owner with a lot of territory, and Andy, you have more territory, it gives us the opportunity to spend less time on site if we have a good process and a good procedure to be able to trust the data that's coming from these digital twins. It's a force multiplier for our time. And that helps with collaboration with the owner as we evaluate changes, evaluate tenant-driven demands. Everybody in this room is from all over the country, so your design team may sit in one location while your contractor's in another location while the owner's in another location. It really streamlines that communication, speeds things up. You can always get a handle on exactly what's happening on site, assuming that the inputs are good. And that's a problem that I know Doxel has worked on and provided a solution for that's automated and machine driven, so it reduces the chance of human error. There are other products out there that do similar functions. There are other products out there that have more manual functions. And as an owner, the value proposition of these things is really important to me. Understanding that the company in question already understands the problem I'm trying to solve and brings a solution to the table that reduces that human error and gives me more business intelligence. And to touch on something earlier as well, and Tyler, I think you mentioned building in remote areas. Being able as an owner to see the difference in productivity rates and the difference in capabilities between markets is a really great opportunity for business intelligence to help us decide where we're going to build next. Is the juice worth the squeeze in a certain market? Or if we see markets that seem to be mature and robust with great labor support and great contractors and they're maybe not performing as well as somebody in another market, those are just indicators for us that there may be some things going on that are not necessarily construction or technology related, but maybe team related, personality related, relationship related, and it allows us to dig deeper and make better decisions about how to manage these global projects.
So just want to add on that, perfectly said. I think the only thing I would add, or maybe expound upon, is the changes. I guess we do make some changes, but when we do, they sometimes are significant. And so be able to go into a model, be able to make those changes and then create, the fabrication out of that, I think helps us to be able to be more nimble. So I think, if we have general contractors that have that capability and become more nimble, that's more appealing to us. So being able to leverage technology to be more nimble is what I would suggest is definitely the word of the day for us.
Yeah, I think it goes back to picking your partner, right? Knowing who you're going to work with and getting them on board early. Just a question for Andy and Adam. For those contractors or trades that may not be using BDC, with the scale of what we're doing and what we're forecasting, do you think they're going to get left in the dust? Do you think it is a necessity moving forward?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. Yes, I get these guys cards. I don't know how you operate in this day and age without having some type of 3D modeling, VDC functionality, whether in-house or in consulting. It's nearly impossible to keep up with the demands.
Yeah, we've had great conversations with many contractors in the group, maybe some sitting here, about, hey, we want to be competitive. We know there's a need for us improving our internal VDC technology capabilities, and they're really looking for a partner. They're looking to be in the market. We need more, right? We need more qualified contractors coming in the group to help sustain and support this growth that we're all talking about. And we were joking on the prep call about grades, right, of different tiers. I'm not going to regurgitate our comment there, but how do you bring on the right partner to really assess the quality level or the experience level, and then picking the right partner? I think is something we all need to be very diligent about. These projects go very fast, so having the right partner on board that has the technology skill set and the experience level is critical.
We used to have an A, B, and C team in the data center industry, and I think we're into the G's and F's and H's now.
You said it.
I'll also say that where there's risk for contractors who don't go down this pathway, there's also similar risk for contractors that go way too far down the rabbit hole. I hire contractors to be builders, to execute projects, to work safely, to deliver to my goals. I don't hire them to be their modelers and VDC experts. So I would caution any contractors in the room to say, there are a lot of good partners out there, some of whom are on stage, some of whom are here exhibiting their products. Work smart, not hard. Figure out what you want to be when you grow up. Do you want to be a VDC guy? Do you want to compete with Reed? Do you want to compete with these companies, or do you want to partner with those companies and offer value? And I think, I've got different contractors. Some of them are on the stage on different sites in different states. And I need consistency across all those approaches to be able to set up that business intelligence platform that we talked about earlier. And I'm not going to get that if Reed's doing things one way, Clun's doing things another way, some other companies doing things another way. So finding that synergy, to use Chris's favorite word, finding that synergy between those contractors and some sort of overlaying platform that can pull the information out without impacting their business and causing them to really change their core values and how they approach the market, but giving me all the information I need is a really critical piece of this. So you've got to know about it, and you've got to be able to implement it and meet the needs of whoever's providing that platform or that tool for you. But you don't need to reinvent the wheel and do it yourself. There are opportunities to find something that works.
I totally agree with that, of course. But I also think like in the data center space, I mean, general contractors are adopting VDC. Like, I don't really see general contractors who are not, even trade partners that are adopting VDC. I think it's the next question is about AI, right? And what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of variety in different general contractors when I talk to their CTOs and CIOs about how they're approaching AI in their business, and which ones are like full in and leveraging it to make their entire team more productive, and which ones are more cautious and like preventing .ai addresses and blocking them, et cetera, right? And are more fearful there. And what I think is that if we look at other verticals, the AI is already like impacting a lot of other verticals and making them more productive. And I think that applies to construction too. And what we're going to see in the upcoming years is we're going to see general contractors that are really leveraging AI to build AI, right? And general contractors that aren't. And I think the ones that really create this feedback loop where they're building the AI data centers to help them build the AI data centers faster, are really going to accelerate, and it's going to create this feedback loop where they really accelerate their productivity. And the ones that don't adopt it are going to be left behind and complaining about labor shortages and things like that.
I think we all have work to do on the data privacy aspects of AI. If I'm doing work for Andy, he's not going to let me put his data on somebody else's cloud, right? And everybody knows this. And how many of these platforms, the first question you should be asking if you're talking to somebody like Reed or any of his competitors is you should understand their SOC 2 compliance and their ISO certifications, and how do you handle data, where does it sit, so you can answer those questions for your own company or for your tenant. Those are some of the overarching things that need to be considered as you're looking at engaging in AI-driven technologies.
And that's probably our number one concern at the moment, Adam. We're seeing it all over the place, but from the GC side, each one of the owners side has their own unique product that they want us to use. And so we're trying to figure out what direction is it supposed to go and what's the best one to invest in. So I think one of the challenges as the GC we're seeing is there's a ton of different models out there that are using AI and bringing it in. And everyone has the best one. I'm not saying anyone on the stage doesn't, but there's a lot out there. And so trying to sift through that and see what works best for your company, and then tie that back to what your customer or clients wants to use, like what is the output that you're looking for. Maybe we can find a unique system that will get you the output, but it works for us and we become proficient.
Yeah, I'd say for us, right, wrong, or different, we try not to dictate what you're using, because exactly what Adam just said, like, we don't want that data that is stored on someone else's platform to be our platform of choice. And so we let the general contractors kind of manage their own projects. We're still working through that because it doesn't give you, to your point, as far as a macro look across all of your organization of how you're operating. So we're trying to figure that way out, just exactly what you said. So it's really, I guess, data integrity. So we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think we're going to change paths here a little bit. We had a great discussion on that. How has advancements in modular construction methods and how are they impacting the project timelines and scalability?
Well, we're seeing it everywhere. The big goal right now is how can we make it modular, how can we make it quicker? Now the challenge with that is we still have the challenge of equipment and lead times and procurement. Making it modular doesn't always necessarily make it quicker or better, but I absolutely think there's a process for it to be in place. It's just how is that going to be integrated? We've got EPS and electrical room that's modular now. We're starting to see that more of the data halls and maybe the chill water loops becoming modular. How does that tie back in, finishing upgrades? But again, it's all going to fall back to how quickly can you get the equipment. Is that quicker than building the facility and then installing it, or is modular from day one the way to go? And again, that's where all these models come into place. What is the best option? That's where being brought on about it. I teach a year in advance, but again, that's where the design is really up front. What directions we want to go and becoming a true partner with the client and customer.
Yeah, as general contractors, I know at Eden Reed, we look for opportunities to prefabricate things offsite. We seek out trade partners that can reduce the amount of labor that's needed on site, to just from a safety concern, from logistics, just, speed to market is everything. So if we can bring that equipment out ready to be installed, we're better for it. So
There's also significant potential. I don't know that it always works out this way, but I hope it trends in this direction of large-scale quality improvements. When you build modular equipment in a controlled environment, there's obviously less hours on the job site in a controlled environment, so it's safer. But there's a quality uptick there as well, potentially, and then there are other things that can be pulled off-site and done earlier as well. Certain commissioning activities can be done at the production facility for modular equipment. Those are certainly some trends I'm seeing. And yeah, there's back-end benefit to the construction schedule as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Reed. In terms of how we're thinking about like on-site install validation against the digital twin, we're spending a tremendous amount of time and energy throughout the design and coordination process, and that's where at the end of that process, we need to keep the pedal down. We need to transition that digital twin, or at least do a better effort during construction, back-checking and validating what's in place matches all the effort that we went through. And there's a lot of, shiny object syndrome out there about, AI technology and identifying these changes. And yes, there is I think there's some progress there. And I think we're getting to that point where we can trust and rely on AI to identify what system's being installed, generate a model, compare it against the digital twin, say, hey, here are your areas of concern, go in and do some field checking. And like I said, pedal down and transitioning that model into the field is something that I think a lot of contractors are really pushing on. Everyone calls it the insurance policy of doing coordination, but it's more of like the insurance policy. Like we're ensuring that we're setting ourselves up for success in the field to perform and meet that productivity that we're looking for.
Thanks, everybody. Take a round of applause.